which me, I love you more than it hurt me.
Hi. Hello.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining in. So yeah, today's going to be our final Python class for our 8-week course. So we've gone over all the different Python basics. I think we have a pretty good understanding of how to make simple programs. We've been making some games, so I think you guys all have the basics. One thing that I wanted to show, if you guys were here yesterday during class, then you guys will probably have already seen this, but for those who were not here yesterday during the Java class, let me share my screen. But yeah, so here we go. We got the COVID-19 hackathon, which is being run by Rishi Kumar. So yeah, the hackathon is going to be from June 13th to June 14th, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's going to be a pretty long hackathon. You guys are all invited to join. So obviously you may not know a lot about how to create sort of a product like this, but the main goal, if you guys see here, it says like solve problems related to COVID-19. You can either create like a web or mobile app, whatever sort of product or project you guys want to create during this hackathon. So I would totally recommend for you guys to go there. Like, even if you don't feel comfortable to create a whole mobile app, web app, like no one really expects you to create that right now, just with the basic skills that you guys have. But if you guys go there, or if you guys attend and like find a team or whatever, obviously there's no going there because it's going to be remote because of COVID-19 and the quarantine and everything. But yeah, so I see a question, what do you do in the hackathon? So basically you'll get into a team of how many ever you want. You can be like, sometimes you just have a partner, sometimes you can have a group of 4, but you create sort of any product you want. So in this case, the main idea of the hackathon is to create some sort of web app or mobile app that can help solve a problem related to COVID-19. But in this case, like if you guys don't really know how to do that at all, which like no one expects you to, as I was just saying, just attend the hackathon, find a couple friends, and then you can learn about different stuff along with each other. Like you can use Google as a huge resource, Stack Overflow or anything, just to like keep Googling up different problems you're having on your code or whatever, and then build upon that and you'll learn a lot. When I went to like my first hackathon in high school with some of my friends, like that was a really big learning experience. I was able to gain a lot from that. So yeah, so this hackathon's I would definitely recommend for you guys to go. All the sign up information is down here at the bottom. All you have to do is press submit. So yeah, there we go. If you guys have questions about specific code or anything, I saw someone just message me, then you can talk to me after class or message me on Slack, as I've always been saying, and that's always going to be fine.
If we have any questions about our code after the class, is there any way that we can still check in with you?
Yeah, so you can just ask me after class or message me if you have something else after class. But yeah, always after class, I'll be there to answer questions. Yeah, so obviously you're not like hacking anything, as I see you guys are talking about right now. Hackathon is just like the sort of like a term that was created for a lot of people to go in and like create projects and stuff. It's not really hacking anything. You're just creating a project or product. Before we get started, one more thing I wanted to show is some of these resources. So I'll show you guys Coding Bat. So Coding Bat here, I've been taking problems from from this for class problems, but yeah, these are like really good problems just to practice some of the basic skills that we've learned. And these are just like creating different methods that you want. And it'll just continue to practice your skills. Coding Bat is a good resource. Leet Code, I will mention that in the Java class yesterday as well. The easy problems are usually what we should be able to do with the skills that you guys have right now. Oh yeah, I'll send the link.
I had a question.
Yeah.
So I went onto the leetcode.com website. Many of the things, like I went to like recursion and stuff, it was really difficult. So are there easier problems on the same site?
Yeah, so if you just look through this difficulty easy, like some of them I think you should be able to do. If you guys are unable to do them, I know they are hard. Like even I struggle with them sometimes. Like I'd recommend Coding Bat. Those are a little bit more simple, so that would be nice to do. Yeah, Coding Bat is generally easier. And then going back to that hackathon, for that, all languages are totally fine. You can code whatever language you want. If you're in the Java class or the web design class, you can use those languages too. But yeah, so Python is what we're going to do today. So what we're going to do is create a Battleship game. So I'll show you guys how this works right now. So here we just printed out our board. So our board is represented with 5 rows and 5 columns. And then we have all O's to represent like sort of empty spaces that have not been picked. If you guys don't know how to play Battleship, basically it's like you have 2 people, one person is guessing where your ships are, and then if you guess the correct place on where that ship is, then that ship like sort of explodes or whatever happens to it, the ship sinks. So that's what the main thing is. So in this case, we only have one ship in one spot on our board, and we have to guess. So it's pretty challenging, this game, but we'll just figure out. The main point of this is to learn how to code this. Yeah, so this is Battleship. So what you do first is we'll guess a row. So like, for example, I'll guess row 1, column 2. Oh, wow. I just happened to get the Battleship sunk right there. I guessed it perfectly. I don't know how that happened. But yeah. Oh, so that's not in the ocean. So it tells you, like, so X, for example, I missed the Battleship. I missed it again. You only, and then for this case, for this program, we're only having it so that they have 4 turns. Then you see I missed the Battleship, turn 4 out of 4. Then it tells you every place that you missed, game over. So yeah, so that's just the main sort of thing for Battleship. So let's get this started. Yeah, so I see in the chat, yeah, this is not the correct version of Battleship. We don't have time to build that entire game with 5 battleships and doing everything. So yeah, we're just gonna do a simple game for today. So I'm gonna initialize a board similar to how we did our tic-tac-toe game. I'll just say initialize a board. So this board will represent an array, and in this array, there will be different sub-arrays inside. So basically each array would represent a row in our Battleship game. So that's how we kind of want to do it. So for example, so we'll say for I in range 5, because I want to have 5 different rows and 5 different columns. I can do board.append. So remember, that's how we add to an array. And then I'll add an array with an O. So remember, O is representing our empty spaces times 5. So I'll just print out board just to show you guys what this is exactly doing. Let's condense this. Yeah, so there we go. So as you guys can see, after I run this for loop, I added 5 different arrays of 5 letter O's in that array, I guess. So here's an array of 5 O's. Here's another array of 5 O's. So there's 5 of those in my overall array. So that's going to be like the main board, if you guys know what I mean. Was there a question?
Yes, I had a question.
Yeah.
Does this Battleship.py review most of the concepts that we've learned through the course?
Yeah, I would say it does review a lot of the concepts we've done. And then also we'll get into another project after this that will review even more concepts and introduce a new one. So yeah.
And is there a project for Java or no?
Oh yeah, so I saw your Slack. Sorry, I didn't get back to that today, but I'll send that out this week along with another Python project. So you guys can work on that. So I'll plan it, since their course is over now, so I'll just send it out later this week, and then you guys can work on that whenever you want. Okay, yeah. So, oh yeah. So I wasn't talking. So here, I'm going to create a function just to print out our board. Similarly, how we printed out our tic-tac-toe board last week. That's going to be one way we do it. So the way that we want to print out, if I can open that up again real quick. So if you guys see, this is what our board looks like. So we just have a bunch of O's. They're not really represented. They like are grouped in different rows and stuff like that. So I'm going to go through each for an array in board. So remember, our board array is an array of O's. So there's 5 different arrays inside that array. And then this is something new that we have not gone over. I'll show you guys exactly how this works after I type it out. And I'll call this function now after to show you guys how that is working. And if I call this, name, join the array. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, there. So we get our board like that. So what this line is doing, so you see like I have a string with a space in the middle. Make sure you include that space, dot join array. So if I just print out array right before to show you guys what it looks like. So you see we have an array of 5 O's here, and another array of 5 O's, or so an array of 5 O's, and then we print it out using this dot join. So this is what our dot join is sort of representing. And then we have another 5, another array, and then we have our next join or whatever. So what this space dot join does is basically says, okay, I'm gonna go get every single element in my array, and I want to join every single element by using a space. So if I did not include this space here and I run it, then you see we have 5 O's right next to each other. But we want a space just to make it look a little bit nicer. So I'm going to include that space, and then we get our output like that, which is what we want. So yeah, are there any questions on this dot join on how that works?
Yes, what is that supposed to do?
So yeah, it just basically takes every element in your array and then splits up and prints them all out together. We're separated by a space. If you didn't want a space, yeah. So if you didn't want a space, then I just remove that space. So you see how I'm including a space in this quotation. So I'm just going to include no space, and then that's what it looks like here when I run the output. Someone else is saying that they have a syntax error on line 34, and you don't have a line 34. Just make sure you're running the right file. That's one thing. Okay, so now that's so we'll start out. We'll print out our board. So I'm going to put that space back, and we get our board like that. And then I'm gonna just print out, let's play Battleship. All right, so you guys don't need to include this in your program. I just added a couple more to make it easier for the user to understand. But these are just like instructions on how this runs. So obviously our rows are numbered from 0 to 4 rather than 1 to 5 or whatever it is, because we want to access by index. So I just made it easy by naming 0 to 4. I just copied and pasted it in the chat. I won't print the board right here, so I'll print out the board down here. And let's see, I'll just run it again. So we see, let's play Battleship. Rows are numbered from 0 to 4. It gives us our instructions. It says we have 4 turns to guess the ship location, and then it prints out our board. So, okay, that is working good. That's the beginning of our game. So now we want to define on the board where it is. So you guys can obviously do this. You can hard code it in. I'm going to put my ship at this spot. But the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to randomly generate the ship on the board so we don't know as the player. So remember, this is how you do random. And then to get the ship row. So that's what I'm going to name the row of our ship that is going to be placed on our board. So I'll just say this is a rand int from 0 to the length of the board -1. So what does this do? So this basically, so the length of our board in this case is the board array. So that is 5. So that means we have 5 rows because each array in our board, overall array, represents a row. And then I do -1 because that is the last index of our array in the overall board array. And then I'll get our ship column. And I'll say that's a random integer from 0 to the length of board 0 -1. So the reason I did board 0 is because we took the row and then the individual array is each column technically. So if you have a row array, each item in that array is a column. So I took the length of that and subtracted by 1 again to get the number of rows. So yeah, someone says, can I just put 4 here? Yeah, you can put 4, but this is like this would be the correct way to code it because you're trying to kind of getting the length of the board. Because for example, what if I change my board to have 7 rows? Then I'll have to go back and change this also to like 6 or whatever. But yeah, if you just keep your if you continuously reference the board variable, then that'll ensure that your program does not have bugs. So yeah, the reason I did board index 0 was because if you look at our board, so I'm just going to print out our board again. And you see we have an array right here. So each array represents a row, and then each individual element in that array represents a column. So like this is one column, this is one column. So the reason I did board 0 was because I just get the length of the first row, or the first column for how many columns there are in our first row. And I can also do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, but I just picked 0 because we always know there's going to be a 0 index.
I don't understand why you put in join R, and if there's any way that in the end you can explain the 0 index, that would be great.
Which part? Oh, this. Okay, yeah. So I'll get back to those. I'm gonna try to get through this so that we have time for our next for a second project. But yeah.
Oh, why is
you can also set a global parameter that works.
Why is the original ship_4? Why does that not have the index of 0?
Ship_where? Sorry.
Ship_row.
Oh yeah. So the reason, because each array in our, remember this is our board array. Each array represents a row. So the number of arrays in our board array is the number of rows, and then the number of items in each individual array is the number of columns. If that makes sense.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So so what we're gonna do now is basically get the user to guess. So I'm going to say input guess your row. And since we are accessing indexes from an array, I'm just going to cast this to an integer. And same thing for the column. I'm just going to copy and paste it. And we'll say guess column. So yeah, so this is how we get input from the user. So if you guys remember last time, we learned about try except. So I'm going to do another try except here. So remember, try except basically just says, okay, try executing this line of code. And then if we get a value error, meaning it was an invalid input by the user, then I'll just print out invalid input for row/call. Please try again. And yeah, that's what we'll do for now. So now if I run this, oh, let me clean up the output a bit. Okay, there we go. So guess row, for example, I can put in 0 and 1. So yeah, that obviously will work out perfectly. If I were to put like a letter, then it says now invalid input row/call, please try again. So yeah, so that's working perfectly. Our try except. Any questions on try except?
For some reason, on line 15 of my code, which was print rows are numbered from 0 to 4, it's saying non-ASCII character.
Do you just make sure you have quotation? Is this line you're talking about?
No, it's line 20 on yours.
So yeah, just make sure you have the quotes. I added this \n because I just wanted to create a new line. So make sure that's included in the quotes too. Otherwise, it might be like a problem with the copy and paste. I'm not exactly sure.
Do you think it's a problem with like the version of Python? Because I have just Python standard. Like I don't have Python 3 like you do.
I don't think that should affect it. But
okay.
For now, if it's not working, just delete it. These print statements are pretty irrelevant for our game.
Shivam?
Yeah.
On line 9, isn't it supposed to be for I in range 5 and not 4?
Because so when we do I in range 4, you see we're getting, oh wait.
But you numbered, in your instructions, you numbered it like from 0 to 4. So don't you need to have it as for I in range 5?
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, I think you're right there. Yeah, so that's actually the board we want. Yeah, so that was a good catch. So I put 4, it's supposed to be 5. So we got our 5 columns and 5 rows. Yeah, that's correct. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so now what we have here is we need to basically create a loop so that our user is able to continuously be input.
Excuse me, just a very quick question.
Yeah.
It is apparently saying that in line 27 and 29 that ran int is not defined.
So yeah, you just want to make sure that you do import random, or I did from random that line.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna do a while loop. So another while true, to make sure that it's like a loop and that it's continuously executing. And for this, remember, I'm gonna include this keyword continue, which basically resets the loop. So if we get an invalid input from the user, we will want to put that continue so that it goes back to the top of our loop. All right, so now we can first just say, so we have the row that our user, in the column that they're guessing, we have the row of our ship, and we have the column of our ship. So now we'll just say if our guess row is equal to our ship row, and our guess column is equal to our ship column, meaning the user guessed the correct column and row, then we'll just print out, congratulations, you sunk my battleship. And then we will do a break from our loop because that means the game is done. And then we'll do an else statement now. That basically says, okay, so they did not find the correct ship. They did not guess. Yeah, they did not guess the correct ship. So now what we can do is basically check for some of the edge cases. So like edge cases meaning rare. Like, all right, so edge cases basically mean when there's like a small case that you have to handle where like the user accidentally inputs an index that's outside of our board, for example. Like they try to access index 5 because we don't have an index 5. So now what we can do is just say if our guess row is less than 0, or our guess row is greater than 4, because that means it's outside, or our guess column, oops, same thing for our guess column.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Isn't guess call in between ship call? Isn't it supposed to be 2 equal signs? Not 1?
Oh yeah. All right, yeah. 2 equal signs right there. Yeah, thank you, Kathy. Okay, yeah, and then we'll just say print your input was outside of the board. Let me say that. And then again, we want to continue because we want to reset the loop because it was an invalid input. So yeah, if
You
guys
have
notice,
3 S's.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, full. Line 39.
What about it?
For the guess underscore Cole, right there is, yeah.
Oh, I just have 3 S's. Is that what you're saying?
Also
Okay.
on 34.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, I'm just trying to type this quickly. But yeah. So notice, yeah, I'm doing continues every time that we want to basically, the user is giving us an invalid input and we want to reset the loop. And then I'm breaking once the game is done. So you only want to break when the game is terminated or done, and then you continue if there's like an error that you caught. But yeah, so now I'm going to do an elif. So this is going to be a little bit more complicated to access. So remember that I'll just type this out and then explain what's going on. So this is basically saying that if our guess is equal to an X, meaning it's already been guessed, then we'll just print out you have already guessed this spot. And continue. Else print yeah, so there we go. So what this is doing, so board, guess row, guess call, that's basically saying, okay, so I'm going to access the row that they guessed and then the column that they guessed. And then if that's already been guessed as an X, then I'll print out that you've already guessed the spot. And then obviously if that has not been guessed yet, then we are assigning that value to an X so that we mark that spot so we know that it's already been guessed. So now I'm going to create another variable quickly to just keep track of the number of turns that the user is taking. And I will just increment the turns over here. Yeah, I think that is, so let's run this and see what's going on. So right now, yeah. So guess row, let's just guess like 1, 1. Okay, so I see the first problem already here. We need to print out our board again. So I'm just gonna call this print board and run it again. So we have 1, 1. So yeah, so now we see our X is updated here. It says you missed my battleship. And if we try doing that again, then it says you have already guessed this spot and it wants me to guess again. So now I'll just do like another spot and then it says you missed my battleship again. So yeah, so it's updating, which is pretty good. So yeah, someone's saying to slow down. So I'll just let you guys, are there any questions on this code right now?
For the line where you have all the ors, why don't you like put them all in the same parentheses? Why do you split them up into 2 different like groups?
Oh yeah, so this is just like my preference. Obviously there's like no reason to do that. I just group the rows together to check if both of those and then the columns together. But honestly, if you didn't include the parentheses, it wouldn't matter. This is just sort of like a style thing. Yeah, so our game's not done. Yeah, I see some people are putting some more suggestions. We have a couple more things that we need to add.
Where will it place X on the board when we are basically checking to make sure that we've already guessed this particular spot or that we've missed it?
Yeah, so if you see like in this example, like I guess row 1, column 1. So it went to row 1, which is here, and then column 1, which is like here, and then it placed the X there if it wasn't. And then like over here, so like I guessed that, and then I tried guessing the same one again, and it tells me then you've already guessed this spot because it found an X in that spot.
Correct. And it'll automatically randomly decide exactly what the correct position is.
Yeah, that's already being random. So obviously
Okay.
I don't know what it is. Okay, yeah, so I see you guys were saying to add this. So I'm just gonna say if turn is greater than 3, meaning it's like 4 turns have passed, then we'll just print game over. I'll just print game over and then we'll break from our loop. We'll also tell the user how many turns they have. I'll actually post that right on the board.
Shivam,
Yeah.
after you print game over, can't you like say where the battleship is?
Yeah, I can do that too. I can quickly type game over. But you can say print the ship was at row, what is it? Row. And the column was at ship call. So yeah. And then I also just printed out the turn, so it says, it keeps updating the user on what turn they are on. So notice that I included this turn plus after all of our checks because if they give us an invalid input, obviously we don't want to take away a turn from them. So yeah, so that's just how that is working.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Can you make like a code that shows where the battleship was on the board? Like print
Yeah,
the
so
board where the battleship.
We can do this. So we can print game over. We'll tell them where the ship is, and then you can say board ship row ship call is equal to, I'll just put like a 1 for now, and then yeah, and then we can just do a quick print board just to show the user. All right, so now let's try running our game. So I'll just put in some values. Oh, did I do something wrong? Oh yeah, let me just cast these really quickly.
Apparently it's saying that turn is not defined.
Just make sure that, yeah, I included turn. I included turn up here.
Oh, correct. That was the problem. I didn't include that.
So yeah, so the ship was at row 2 and column was at 1, and then I printed out a 1 right there to show us where the ship was. So yeah, you can play around with that. I just did it really quickly. Obviously it doesn't look very nice, but yeah, so that's just how our battleship is working. So you see our turn if statement, I just said if the turn is greater than 3, meaning it's 4 or 5. And then printed out game over, printed out our board. So that is exactly what we want. And I think that is good for our battleship game.
Also, just going back, yesterday for Java, I don't believe that the class 8 code was posted.
Oh yeah, so I'll post that again after class today. Sorry about that. Are there any questions on Battleship before we get into our next project? So the next project I really wanted to get to, it uses another Python library.
Could you scroll down to the if turn is greater than 3?
Yes, sorry, what do you want me to explain?
Can you explain the try except again?
Yeah,
in the
sure.
beginning of the while loop?
Yeah, so what this try except is doing, so I'll actually just demonstrate this again. So we have our rows and columns. So if I try running this, if I put row 1 and like for example, I put an H as my column, which is invalid, then you see I get this error from Python saying value error, and my entire program crashes. So the point of like a try except is basically to say, okay, I'm gonna try doing this line of code, meaning accepting input from the user, whether it's an integer, a string, whatever it is. And if it's a valid input, then I'll continue on with my code. And then if it's not, it will go into this except loop because it sees that a value error. So that's why I say except value error, meaning that if a value error occurs during my program, instead of throwing all this error to my user, I'm just gonna print this out and then continue on with the loop. That's like the main purpose of that. So value error is basically like you gave a string when it expected an integer. Key error basically is if I give like for a array that has 4 indexes, I'll give it index 5, something like that. Or no, that would be an index error. Key error, I think, also would apply to like dictionaries or something if you gave like the wrong key for a dictionary. Yeah, key errors, you can Google that up, but I can't remember exactly what it is, but I think it's something like that. Yeah, so I'm scrolling down now to the bottom. We have around 25 minutes, which should be good. It says that you cannot import randint. So make sure your I is lowercase. I see you typed I with a capital. Make sure it's randint with the lowercase I if you're trying to import. Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna post this code if you guys didn't get everything down yet. You can check this out after, but yeah, this is like a simple version of Battleship. Obviously, you guys can turn this into a much larger game. If you guys want to work with this, like this would be a good project to continue working on with your skills. Like make this 2-player game, make there be like multiple ships, not just one ship with one space, but maybe ships that take up multiple spaces. You guys can completely build off this game and make it into like a much better game. Like this is very simple. So yeah. So
could you explain the if turn is greater than 3, the like very third statement over there?
Oh yeah, so this is basically just checking. So turn, remember, keeps track of how many turns our user has. And then if turn is greater than 3, meaning our user has had 4 turns or more, then we want to print that there's game over because we don't want them to have more than 4 turns. That's just like, I define that, like you can change it to 7 turns, 10 turns, whatever.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to create another file called coronastats.py. Okay, so this part of the lesson now, I would not recommend for you guys to try to copy down every part of the code. I would recommend to just try following along right now because we're going to be using a package called Selenium to basically grab data from a website. We'll open up a website on a browser, grab some data from it, and print it out. Very simple script for now, but basically just teaching you guys how you can access actual data from websites that are online. So this is the name of the package. This is the website. I'll send this in the chat. If you guys are interested in this, after I teach you guys all about this really quickly, I would definitely recommend following the documentation there. And installing that and doing everything. Selenium is a really cool package. I probably create like a Selenium script like once a month just for fun. They're really fun to create, in my opinion. But so first thing that you want to do, so I would not recommend for you guys to try to follow along and type all this code right now, but mainly just to follow along and understand what's happening. So from Selenium, I'm importing a WebDriver. So this WebDriver basically allows me to access a WebDriver such as Chrome or Firefox. So if you don't have Firefox installed, you can probably use Chrome, whatever it works. But so this line of code is essentially just opening up a browser. So let me run this. So if you guys see, I just ran, and then it opened up on another desktop for me. But yeah, I opened up a Firefox, so it automatically opened up like a Firefox window for me. So that is how we get started. And then the way that you guys can access websites through this is you say driver.get, and then you input your URL. So I'm just going to input one of like the main websites for the coronavirus, tracking like the number of cases and everything. So I'll run that again one more time just to show you guys. And then, so we have our Firefox there, see, and then it automatically loads this website for me. So that's cool. So we already opened up a Firefox browser. We went to a website automatically. So yeah, so this is looking good. So now what I usually do when I'm creating a script like this is I'm looking, okay, so what information do I want to grab? So what I'm going to do is basically just print out the information about the world. I'm going to get the total number of cases, the total number of new cases, the total number of deaths, and then the total number of new deaths that are happening. So the way that you guys do this is you do like sort of like an inspect element. You're trying to look at what this is. So, and I see, so this row is represented by this element. So, okay, so you guys don't really need to understand what all these elements are doing. Like even I don't understand what everything what all this means. Like if you guys are in the web design class, you might even have like a better understanding than me about this, about what all these elements mean, the PD, TR. Yeah, someone typed in the chat, how about recovered people? We can get that information too, but for now I'm just gonna do pretty simple like explanation. But yeah, so here I'm gonna grab this class name. So these class names are really helpful. So if I grab this class name right now, I'm just gonna copy and paste it and comment that out right here. And then one thing that you guys can do now is just say, so the total number of cases we'll say is driver dot find element by class name, and then I'll put in here. So now you see that here's my class name, and it is represented, it is represented by a space here. So just one quick thing that you guys know is instead of spaces in your code, you want to put a period. So a dot would represent a space. Let's see, someone in the chat said stats that automatically update themselves. So every time you run this script, this will automatically be updated. But yeah. So now let's just print out cases just to see what kind of information we get. Oh, actually, here, I'll add these just to show you guys. So actually, I'll just do .text. So that basically says I want to print out whatever text is at this class. So if you guys are trying to do this right now, it most likely will not be working because you do need to install some packages like Selenium and like Gecko Driver if you guys know what that is. But there's a couple of things that you need to install before. So that's why I'm saying you don't really need to follow along right now. But yeah, so we printed out our cases.txt and we got all this information from that row. So that's looking pretty good right now.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Will you post the instructions on how to install these things?
Yeah, so I'll save that. I sent that link. So that link has all the instructions that you need. Yeah, so if you guys are trying to do it right now, as I was saying, you need to install Selenium first. So don't worry about installing everything right now because then you won't be able to pay attention. So just try paying attention to understand what's going on. But yeah, so now we got all this information. So what I can do is basically say .split on a space. So what this does is basically says, okay, I have this entire string here. I want to split this into an array and split it by a space. So similarly to how we did join in our previous program, split is sort of the opposite of it. You take a string and you separate it into an array, while join is taking an array and putting it together, joining it together into a string. So now if I print out cases.split, yeah, so we can run that. So see, now it takes a little bit of time to run. It's not really instant like our previous programs because it's opening up the driver and everything. But it should print out soon. Yeah, so there we go. So see, now we get an array. We see the square brackets. But yeah, so now what we want to do, I'm just going to include this split dot here so that our cases represents our array. And now I'm not going to print this out anymore. And then now what do I want to do? I want to get this number. I want to get this number, as you guys can see. This number and this number, which basically represent the stats that I want to get. So I already wrote this out, so I'm just going to quickly type it like this just to speed up the process, and then print out all of that. So what this is doing is basically accessing each element from my array. So if you see my array looks like this. So cases at index 1. So what that does is take whatever number is here. So that is my first index. This is just other array stuff that we've done. This is not related to Selenium. But yeah, and then I took cases 2, and I took from the first character at index 1 to the end so that I got rid of this plus, so I don't get that plus in my output. And then I got this number, and then same thing for this one. I took away that plus and then got everything over here. So dot text basically, let me show you guys what that does. So I show you, so I did the dot text over here. So I'm going to print it out without the dot text and show you what happens. So yeah, we open up our browser and we get all the stats that we wanted over here. But yeah, so when I print it out without the dot text, this basically is sort of like a web element. So think of it as like a web element object. And that dot text is an attribute of that web element object, and it allowed me to access basically all the text that was assigned with that web element. And in this case, it's all the text in this row, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that's perfect. We got our stats over here. That gave us total cases worldwide. So like it's pretty simple like that. Like within 5-10 minutes, I was able to just get all the coronavirus cases in the entire world and the new cases for today, and including the deaths. So now one thing I can do is just to add on to that, I'll just print out another statement just to separate our output, and then I'll do driver.get. Now what I want to do is basically just get stats specific to the United States. So I'll go country/US. Obviously this is just the URL. So like if I were to open this up on a Chrome browser, then you see it directly gives me the stats about the United States. So I can do the same thing again, where I go here, I inspect my element, and then I find total row USA odd, that's my class name. So I'm doing the same thing once again. And then I'll do driver. USA, I'll just name it USA cases. And then we just want to print out our USA cases. So notice I'm changing the class name here to the USA. And then I'm doing the dot text again and the dot split to get my array. So as I'm running this, I'll answer the question that is in the chat. But yeah, so if you guys see, so the reason I included the in the brackets the 1:, that's because there's already like a plus. That's because there's already a plus in front of here, so I just wanted to get rid of that plus sign. But yeah, as you can see here, it already navigated to our USA page and then printed out our entire array of our US stats. So that's pretty cool. So we got our stats now. So now you see that the value that we want is at index 2. So now I have to change up everything. So how do you make it to go to Google instead of Firefox? So I see everyone typing webdriver.google. That's not Google. It would have to be Google Chrome. It would have to be .chrome if you want to open Google Chrome. But if you want to go like directly to the Google website, if that's what you're asking, then you just go like google.com or whatever. You just copy the URL there and include that. But if you're trying to do Chrome, that's going to be a little bit more complicated. You have to do Chrome, and you also have to install something called like a Chrome driver and include that over here. So that's all of that information is on the Selenium webpage, which I linked over here. I'll send it one more time. But yeah, driver.google is not a valid one. So yeah, so now we got USA cases. So I'm just gonna print. Again, I already wrote everything out, so I'm just gonna copy and paste that. And yeah, so I think.
Excuse me, could you explain the like total world cases 1 and then total new world cases 2 to 1 :
Yeah, sure. I'll run it one more time just to show the USA stuff, and then I'll explain that. So Chris actually said a good point in the chat. So yeah, you guys want to make sure that your driver it's like not a search engine, like meaning the whatever you open is not like a search engine. You're not opening up Google, you're not opening up Yahoo or Bing. You're opening up Firefox, you're opening up Chrome, you're opening up Safari, whatever those are. That's what you're opening up. But yeah, so we navigated to the USA page, and then on our output we got. Oh yeah, so it looks like we got wrong information. I don't know what this is printing out. I think. Oh, I think. Yeah, so the problem was the variable, it was called cases. So it should be called USA cases. Sorry, messed that up. Quickly run it again. You see, we navigate to the home page of coronavirus. And then it quickly switches to the USA, and then it prints out all of our data. So yeah, so that is a pretty simple way of just getting data for cases worldwide, deaths worldwide, and then cases in the US. So you can do this specifically for wherever you are from. If you're from California, Santa Clara County, all that information I think is on this website. You can go, like to California, you can navigate there, and you can get the information from Santa Clara, just like that. And then you can get the total number.
Is there any way that you could show the actual code?
Oh yeah, so here's all the code.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, so you can use this to grab information. And if you guys are interested in participating in the hackathon, you can use all this data, use Selenium, try to follow this video or this program as best as possible.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
When we were talking about the, WebDriver Firefox, can you explain what you meant by just put the google.com?
Oh yeah, so I saw someone mention how do we go to Google? So the reason that I went to this page first is because I specified, okay, go directly to the coronavirus page. But if I just go to Google, let's see, what is the actual URL? Okay, I'll just say driver.get w.google.com. That should probably work. And then now when I run it, you can see.
Also, I don't really get why you put the bracket numbers in the cases.
There's not a valid URL. Okay, yeah. So find whatever the Google URL is, and then you can put that there. But yeah, okay. So for the bracket for the cases. So the reason I did that. Here we have I'm running, and then the first thing that we get here is, so I just printed out that array. So the reason I'm using these brackets, so cases index 1, that's basically saying, okay, I want to get the first index from this array, which is the total number of cases in the world. So I just see that number. I found it on the website.
No, I know, but how can we put like single numbers in there? Like
Yeah.
the USA
And then-
case is 4.
For this,
I
oh
believe
yeah.
those are the indexes.
Yeah, so what the 1 colon does is I was saying it basically just so like you see how the output initially is like a plus 121,751. So I'm just trying to get that output without the plus. So that's why I'm including the 1 colon. You see how when I print it out, I get it without the plus, but then over here it is with the, yeah.
So what is the significance of that then? So like total underscore world is equal to cases like brackets 1. How does it know exactly what the index is? Is it like because it's connected to the link, the URL, it'll automatically just take it by scanning the website?
Yeah, so the cases, remember, is I created an array out of all the information on that specific row. So like in this row, I created an array out of that. And then this is sort of like a hard code. Like I said, okay, yeah, I always know that the total number of cases is going to be at index 1. And I just found that out by printing out the array. So like a lot of this is like kind of like trial and error, I would want to say. It's like you find the data that you're looking for, put it into a format that you think would be best for whatever you're trying to code, and then figure out how you can access that data. So the way I did this was, okay, I'm going to find this data, and see initially I got just a string by using this dot text. So I had to include this dot split. So I got it into an array, and then I accessed the first element. So how does this get rid of the plus? So the reason it gets rid of the plus is because when you include this 1 colon, that basically says, okay, I want to start everything from the first, and the index at character 1. The character at index 1. So in this case, if I did not include this, and I ran it, then on my output, then you can see that I will get, as it's running right now. Yeah, then you see I'll include that plus. Because if I don't include that 1 colon, then it'll include that plus. If you guys understand how that works.
Can you explain how you find the like total row USA.odd? Can you explain how we find that?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, if you open up the browser, whatever your browser in, then let's say, okay, so I just click on world, I just right click on it, and then I just say inspect element. That's all I do. And then most likely it will take you directly to the area, and I'll just hover over it. You see like, I'll hover over this, and then you see, okay, it highlights that entire row. So that's gonna be the information that I want to get. So that's why I grabbed this class name.
In this situation, index 0 is basically the country name or the world itself.
Yeah, it would be the world itself, I think. And then in this, for the USA case, it would be the name of USA.
And then subsequently, we have
on
all of the other
websites, it's going to be different different data. You'll have to get different class names and everything. But yeah, this is like for this specific website. So like, if you guys are going to college soon, I like when I first got into college, I used Selenium a lot because like you're really competitive for like getting your like dorms or whatever, trying to get into classes and everything, especially as a freshman in college. So like this was really helpful. I managed to get into like a couple of classes using like a script that I created that automatically would like, once a class opens up, it automatically ran it and signed me up for the class. Like that was pretty cool. And then also like to get into like one of like the better dorms in my school, I also used it.
Oh wow, you use code to get into your dorms?
Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's why, yeah, I really like Selenium. I also like for some games I play or something like video games, you can use it like if they have like an online.
So is this for like signups online that it can be used for?
Yeah, so like another thing is like for like one school project, I think we had to like create like an account in something. So using like Selenium. So I use Selenium and you can type in text boxes. Like I'm not gonna do it right now, but I can add text to this text box using Selenium. There's a lot of things that you can do. So I would totally recommend, I'll send it one more time, the documentation into the chat. But yeah, Selenium.
Is it necessary that we download the package now, or can we download it after class as well?
Oh yeah, you can download it whenever you want. But yeah, this will walk you through it. Pip install Selenium if you're on Mac. The different drivers you see, it'll walk you through that. So if you guys like Chrome, you can use Chrome. I just use Firefox as the easiest in my opinion. But yeah, if you also are a Windows user, it gives you information on how to do that for Windows. And
Can you
yeah,
please go back to the bottom?
yeah. Oh yeah, so I see another question about how do I sign up for something as soon as it opens up. So I did not just use Selenium for that. I had to use um, another thing called like I can't even remember the name of it anymore. But basically, I was running it on terminal and always had my script running in the background. So that I mean, it always had my script ready in the background. So then when like a class opened up, for example, then my script would be notified and then it ran. So that's a lot more complex than what we learned in this class, but if you're really interested in this, you can like continue to look into that and learn about that. And ask me any questions if you guys have to.
And after this whole coding session and stuff, if we still have any questions about like code itself, should we email you or should we still use the Slack link?
So I'm not exactly sure about the Slack. I think the safer bet would be to use my email. So I'll send my email in the chat right here. You guys can all take that down. And any questions about like just going to college with computer science or anything like that, any software, any programs you're creating, feel free to ask me questions about that. I can always be a resource.
How do we find our teams for the hackathon?
For teams for the hackathon, I think you can basically just create your own team if you have any friends in this class. If not, put your name in like the general chat in the Slack. If you're in the Slack, we'll try to figure out and find teams for people who don't have teams yet. But if you already have friends, yeah, feel free to just work with your friends. I think, yeah.
Okay. Shouldn't we just use like the people we know? And if we don't know a lot of people, we could just use our business partners.
Yeah, I think your business partners in the entrepreneurship, that completely works too. I think that's what a lot of people have done in the past, because you probably get really comfortable with them as you're continuously been working with them. But yeah. So yeah, it's already 6 o'clock. It just turned 6 o'clock. This is our last class. So if you have any further questions about Python or just coding in general, stay after class to ask me. Once again, yeah, you can contact me through email on any questions you have or any feedback about the class, anything like that. I think, yeah, that is all for our course. So thank you guys all for joining. It's been really great teaching you guys. I had a lot of fun reviewing all these Python concepts that I have not done in a while. I haven't done these basics in a while. So yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Do you know
Sorry,
what the GitHub code is?
Oh, sorry. What was your question?
Do you know what the GitHub is? Like, can you put it
Oh yeah.
in
Let me turn that in the chat.
Thank you so much. I'm really gonna miss going to this coding class every week.
Yeah, I know. It's been great having you as a student. You got a lot of nice questions that really make me think. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely love the code that was being taught in class.
That's great. I hope you guys learned a lot.
Of course. Thank you for giving your time to teach us as well.
Yeah, no problem. It's been fun. Yeah, so the videos for this class should always be available for you guys. I think forever, honestly. Like I don't see a reason why those should be taken down. But worst case, those will be also, yeah, the tiny URL link should also exist. So whatever works for you guys. Are there any other questions about anything?
Can you post the code in the GitHub for both of them?
Yeah, so I'm just posting the Python one right now. Yeah, so it just got posted. So that should be there, and then I'll just post the Java class right after this. For those of you who have questions about future classes, so I will be working this summer, so I most likely will not be teaching another class during the summer. I'm still in school, so I have like finals week right now. But we have other teachers coming in to teach Python once again. We have another high school student who's going to be teaching artificial intelligence and machine learning. So if you guys are interested in learning basics about that, those topics get really complex, and the main language in AI and ML would be Python. I took those two classes in this quarter in school and last quarter in school. So those mainly use Python. So it's really nice to know Python if you're trying to work in machine learning, artificial intelligence, creating like chatbots, whatever it is.
Will you host this boot camp, like the coding classes, next year as well?
Yeah, so these courses will most likely be continuing from now, like for as long as, like forever, honestly. But I'm not exactly sure my schedule in terms of teaching, but we'll have obviously other instructors to come teach.
All right, thank you so much. Have a wonderful summer.
Yeah, you too. All right, sounds good. So this will wrap up our last class. Again, it was nice having you all. So I hope you guys all have a great summer. Hope you guys learned a lot. Bye.